everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. I'm here with Bob Cicherillo, who we refer to as Bob Chick because Cicherillo is very hard to spell. How are you,
Yes.
Bob?
Good, man. What's up, Ron?
Doing well. You know, you have actually made these the contest coverage a lot more reassuring for me because I get anxiety at times, but when I hear your voice booming, I know everything's going to be okay. When I hear the judges are in place, the athletes are ready, I'm like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay now.
It's all good, man. Well, with 8 weeks to the Olympia, bro, all systems are go, and we are putting the pieces in place. Dan Solomon, of course, along with Tamer El-Gindi and the rest of the Olympia crew. So things are moving and grooving, man. But as you know, it's never a dull day in the world of professional bodybuilding. So
this seems like the most interesting, few months of bodybuilding I want to say has ever had. It seems like everything's happening at once. The Chinese say, "Don't ask to live in interesting times. You might get what you wish for."
Right.
So we'll start with.
Hey, for people claiming that we're a boring sport or hey, there's nothing going on. Well, listen, you got plenty to go on now, but yeah, it does seem like everything kind of converged all at the same time here. So there's lots of stuff and misinformation out there and different things. So yeah, shoot away, fire away, Ron.
That's why you're here. So
that's right.
We'll start with our top story tonight, or whenever you're watching this, people. So the Rhoden thing broke. Tomorrow it'll be 2 weeks exactly since the charges were filed, and that's when everybody knew about it. But
sure.
I have a feeling that you might have heard about whispers about this long ago. I'm surprised I didn't. Nobody told me anything, but did you know about this potentially being a problem way back when, like last October?
Not quite that long, but about 6 months ago, I had heard some smatterings of some things going on. So yeah, I did know a little bit before most people. Yeah. Which brings up an interesting point because, and you correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm following this like everybody else is. You probably have more information than I do at this point. However, I did hear that Chris Cicherillo got on and he kind of put his 2 cents out there, and one of the things he was complaining about was that the powers that be it in the IFBB or most likely the Olympia, didn't reach out to them, and they kind of jumped the gun and made a decision. And, why didn't they call us? And
call
our
who?
side,
Call who? Call him, Chris?
I assume when he says us, I assume he means Rhoden in particular. But I would submit this: if that's true, and again, I'm just catching that third party. Yeah. I would submit this. This stuff's been in the works for almost a year. I would submit that. Well, why didn't you guys reach out to somebody? You knew this was coming. Yeah. This was not a surprise. I mean, you knew what was coming your way. Be it, we'll just use them collectively since he likes to talk like that. So Chris and Shawn Rhoden, listen, you could have reached out 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, 6 months ago, and had a conversation with the Olympia, with the powers that be, with the IFBB Pro League, and stated, look, this is what's coming. Let's get ahead of this thing. What can we do? That would have been the way to go. Don't sit there now and exclaim, well, why didn't you call us? Because, listen, this is some serious business here.
No, it's, the last big Shawn Rhoden fiasco, which now I think everyone's, it's paled in comparison so much that it's like, whatever. The guest posing thing back in May.
Right.
This sort of all puts it in perspective. Like now you're realizing he probably hadn't been training, hadn't been in a good space mentally because, he had to submit DNA, and he knew...
Very probable, sure.
He knew that this was very likely to happen, that charges were going to be filed, that they were building a case and all that. So there's been a lot of speculation from people I talked to that he probably had no intention of competing in this Olympia anyway.
And that's fair. I mean, that certainly could be. We don't know that, but it's a damn good guess, Ron. I would like to make one clarification. The people online, the fans out there, the other people with everybody's got a show these days, a podcast or whatever. Yep. There are two distinct factors to look at here. One is that the Olympia operates almost as a separate entity. Okay, they have their own rules. There's an Olympia contract, for those who don't know, that you sign as an athlete that obligates you to certain things, to certain conduct, to certain whatever. They have every right to do exactly what that they did. Now, you can argue whether that was warranted or not, whether, guilty, presumed innocent, and all that stuff. Yeah. But the Olympia, as you sign the contract and all that, are of their own, okay? So they can pull the trigger if they want. There absolutely is language in there, as I have seen it, although it's some time ago, But as I recall, I mean, you are obligated to act a certain way, to represent, to basically keep your nose clean. Now that said, okay, we're also not the morality police. Okay, so for all these people going, well, this guy got picked up for drunk driving 10 years ago, he didn't get suspended. It's like, look, let's not put all this stuff in one category. We're not talking about things like that. This is a very serious nature and an allegation. The distinction I want to make, though, Ron, is that is separate and apart from the IFBB Pro League.
Right.
And the statement that Jim Mannion put out last week that basically said, look, we have not taken any action at this time for or against Shawn Rhoden based on these accusations, okay? The Pro League has not suspended him. They haven't taken him out. It wasn't the Pro League that said, look, you're not going in the Olympia or we're revoking your status. Nothing's been done, okay, on that respect. And I think that's smart on the Pro League's part. The Olympia took it upon themselves to make that decision, and I don't necessarily disagree with that because, listen, you got to do something. This is no different, Ron, than what we've seen in the NFL, Major League Baseball, basketball. I mean, you can go right down. There's 1,000 examples.
Yeah, I mean, everybody was immediately going back to the Kobe Bryant incident from, what was that?
Right.
That was like 10 years ago now.
Oh, yeah, probably 10 now.
And they say, well, the Lakers owner didn't kick Kobe off the team, and the NBA didn't kick him out of the league. So this is crazy. How dare they do that? So last night I actually interviewed Dan Solomon. His interview is going to go up a day before yours.
Okay.
Dan did a really good job explaining that David Pecker, it was not an easy decision. He actually went to professional sports team owners. He even has access to league or probably I don't want to throw names. I don't know, but people who run major league sports, the whole thing, like whoever runs football, whoever runs. But he consulted.
Yeah, he's obviously very connected with some major players out there. So
he consulted with a lot of different people before making that decision. And the conspiracy theory was that David Pecker was behind this because he didn't like Shawn Rhoden as Mr. Olympia. And
it's so ludicrous.
It's 2 months before your big show. You're gonna bring a scandal on your show and on your top. It's absolutely ridiculous, Anyway,
agreed. Yeah, and listen, for all the conspiracy theorists out there, you give people way too much credit, guys, for coming up with some of these scenarios. We don't like Rhoden as a Mr. Olympia. It's like, we collectively could care less who wins the Olympia. Okay, honestly, it doesn't matter. The judges couldn't care less. This goes back to years ago. We used to have arguments about those conspiracies of, if you're not with Muscle Tech, you don't win the Olympia, and if you're not with Weeder, you don't win. All that stuff was proven false. Right. Through obviously history's actions, and who would win? Jay wasn't with Muscle. Boom, he wins. Jay wasn't with AMI. He was with Muscular Development. Boom, he wins. I mean, so it shot down all those things immediately. But to think that the judges or Jim Mannion or the pro or anybody cares who wins? I mean, listen, has Shawn been the greatest spokesman in the world? No, I don't think so by any other stretch. Yeah. More for lack of having anything to say rather than saying anything wrong or per se. But listen, this also isn't a political appointment. I mean, you want a bodybuilding show. Well, I mean, let's call it what it is.
I wonder. I've always said this is the guy with the best physique in the world. Why does he also have to be, going on tour and being an ambassador? That's what we expect. That's what we want. But in other sports, they leave the athletes to be the best athletes, and they don't necessarily expect. We sort of expect these guys to be like, Miss America, where you're going to represent the title and inspire young women all over the world and end hunger and all.
Yeah, it doesn't really work here, but the bodybuilding line is, you're right, it's a physique show at the end of the day. And AMI did what they thought was in their best interest, and that's the end of the story. Let's move on because, we've got other stories coming and going. Listen, Shawn Rhoden has his own cross to bear at this point. We don't know all the facts. We don't know. We've heard various things about the accuser and different things about her nature and whether there's history there of fraud and this and that. Listen, stop speculating, everybody, okay? He's got much bigger fish to fry right now than competing in the Mr. Olympia because this is, like I said, a very serious accusation that he's got to handle. And these people are individuals. For those that have reached out to me, and I've had a whole bunch, you're the athlete's rep. How come you haven't been involved in this? How come you didn't stand up for Shawn? Listen, I represent the athletes as a whole, okay, as an entity. All right, I represent the IFBB Pro League athletes. Okay, now that's plural. I don't represent them individually. I don't, come to their defense. I call it the way it is all the time. I do what's in the best interest of the Pro League athletes in a collective fashion. Now, I deal with things like rules, changes, qualifications, prize money, different things to make sure everybody gets treated fair and equitable.
What were they expecting you to do exactly for Shawn?
Well, people they think, they don't really know what my role is, so they just see athletes rep, and they automatically figure I represent all the athletes individually, and it's like, look, man, I don't run their business. I don't run their camp. I don't, it doesn't work like that. Like I said, I work in a collective. So look, there's nothing I would ever say for or against them. I mean, I have my own opinions personally, but as the IFBB athletes rep, it's not my job. Now, if he was taken out unfairly against somebody else, per se, like let's just say two of these things just came up, okay? Same identical circumstances. Some other guy got caught up with some chick, and he's got charges now, and they suspended him, but not the other guy. Now I got a problem, and now I got to step in. Because now I have to go in as the athletes rep and go, wait a minute, we have to look at this fair, what's fair for, if it's good for one, it's good for all kind of a thing. But if it's unfair to one or the other in any way, shape, or form, that's when I have to get involved. Yeah. But this doesn't dictate that. And again, please, people, stop coming up with every example in the world of, well, Jeremy Buendia's got, domestic abuses and things and stuff. And that's a whole other thing that just came up.
Yeah, we'll get to him, don't worry. But, I'm actually kind of surprised that it took this long for something like this to happen in our sport, only because, we both go to all these shows, and there are a lot of women who, they like the bodybuilders. If a guy has a great physique, a little bit of fame, a little bit of money, he's a very attractive prospect to a lot of these women. So, I've known plenty of these guys who every show they go to, girls come at them offering themselves, let's hang out, let's Netflix and chill or whatever. And
right.
There's not as much status and as much money as there is in our sport as there are in like the NFL or the NBA. So maybe that's why we haven't had more situations like with Kobe Bryant or Ben Roethlisberger or where it was clearly it would come out eventually in many cases.
It's all relative. I mean, listen, we're not a mainstream sport, so. I'm with you. I'm surprised this has not happened much earlier than it has. But like I say, collectively, we are a much smaller group. Like I say, we're not football, we're not baseball. We're very small when it comes to overall impact and size into the mainstream. So it surprises me, and it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So what does this mean for the Olympia contest? We're all still going to the Olympia. People that go to the Olympia, I believe, I see the same people from Europe and wherever. I see like a lot of the same faces. I've seen some of these same people for like 20 years plus. Yep, sure. I don't think they necessarily are going or not going to Olympia based on the exact lineup from year to year. They enjoy the Olympia experience, and because it's our Super Bowl, and that's where, there's only a couple big shows a year like there are on the Olympia where we see everybody. Yep. So personally, I don't think this, I wish it hadn't happened. Obviously, it's a very sad situation, but I don't think it's going to affect the Olympia as much as some people seem to think it will.
No, it won't affect it in the least. And this is why. And this is no knock on Shawn Rhoden as a champ, but listen, we've had ups, downs in between. We've had sold-out years. We've had less than sold-out years. The lineup changes, obviously, year to year. I mean, now this year, obviously, it's a completely different lineup. I mean, we don't have, for the first year, we don't have Phil Heath as the champ. We don't have the current champ as the champ. so that's changed. Now it does open up obviously a whole bunch of scenarios of we will have a new champion this year. That much we do know. But you know what? Where some fall off the radar, others get on the radar. This is a great opportunity for the Brandon Currys, for the William Bonacs, for the Nathan Diashes, and all the rest of the a lot of the new guys that are coming up. It's also a great opportunity for one of the old guard, and that's Dexter Jackson. I tell you this, I just saw Dexter the other day. I was in L.A. For the L.A. Championships, Tamer El-Gindi and his crew putting that on again. Always a great precursor to the USA as it's only a week out. Right. So a lot of future USA champs come from that L.A. Championships. Yeah. And as I was there at Gold's Gym, who do I run into but the Blade himself, Dexter Jackson. And he looks tremendous. He's in great shape. He's going in Tampa in 2 weeks. 1 week now, coming down to about a week and a half now. And that's just on his bucket list. He doesn't need the show. He doesn't need the, it's not a huge prize money show. But Dexter, will already go down in history as the most winningest bodybuilder of all time. That may not ever get broken. If it does, it's going to be, we'll be long gone, Ron, by the time that gets broken. But
It'll be the robots running the world at that
Yeah,
point.
it could be artificial intelligence at that point. Yeah, running rampant, and the T3 and all that stuff. Cybernetic organism, blah blah blah. I don't remember all my Terminator stuff, but
terrible bodybuilding.
So Dexter, how great of a story would this be? I mean, how about this guy comes out, 50 years old, right? Wins the Olympia, not only at 50, but 11 years apart from his first Olympia victory. Yeah. I mean, you can't write this stuff, but you know what? He is running and gunning, man. I tell you, he's got pep in his step, and he's going to be bringing it all, man. I tell you this, Dexter Jackson has a legitimate chance of winning the 2019 Olympia.
I agree.
And listen, he's got his work cut out. Listen, Brandon Curry's no joke. I think with the subtraction of Shawn Rhoden, I mean, Brandon, I think, automatically became the number one contender by default. But you can't count out Bonac. You can't count out,
Ruley Winkler.
Yeah, Ruley. I was just going to get to Ruley, the people's champ. He's very popular. People love him. And let me tell you, he didn't miss it by a whole lot last year. So we all see the videos of Ruley. I mean, he is not – he hasn't missed no meals. And those arms, if they get any bigger, goddamn. I mean but, Phil Heath obviously doesn't look like he's in the lineup, but he hasn't said either way. He's played it very coy, and I tell you this, he's big as a house right now. Yeah. And I mean that in a good way. I mean, he is large and in charge. So could Phil still be going in? He might. And I don't have any inside knowledge. I'm not trying to, play cat and mouse myself. I don't know, and I'm good friends with Phil.
I keep asking. He won't tell me.
No, listen, he won't tell me. Like I said, I'm close friends with him. But listen, could he still pop in there? Absolutely. He could just be getting ready and basically not saying nothing to nobody. Right. And I tell you this, if Phil goes in and his midsection is improved 10% over last year, he wins again. Nobody else on that stage can touch him. And that goes for Rhoden, too. If Rhoden went in this year, if he was able to go in, bring his absolute 100% best, and Phil comes in with a 10% improved midsection, he'd have beaten Rhoden again. Yeah. I mean, and I've said this a million times since last year, Rhoden didn't win the Olympia as much as Phil lost it.
Right.
There's a big difference there, because there's no other name like this year, as we speculated, Ron, early on, right? When Rhoden was still in the mix. Well, who could beat Rhoden? Do you think Rhoden's going to repeat? Most people, I don't see him repeating. It's going to be a one and done. I see, Curry can beat him. Hey man, do you think Bonac could beat him? Yeah, Bonac could absolutely beat him. What about Big Ramy? Wow, shit, if Ramy gets his stuff together, man, he could absolutely beat him, right? Now, those are all the responses, and you've heard them as well as I have, right? All throughout this year, right? Until the latest happenings. Right. Here's the difference, okay? And this is what drives home my point. If I tell you right now, Ron, Phil just called me and he's committed to doing the Olympia this year. He's in.
Awesome.
Now, right? Oh, yeah, me too, right? Because I'm like, I'll take him, right? Yeah. Now, if I ask you all those same questions, right? And I go, well, Ron, what do you think? You think Bonac can beat him? You go, nah. What about Ruley? Nah, Ruley can't beat him. No. What about, Cedric? What about Big Ramy? And you're going to go, no. You're going to check the list. No. That is the difference between Shawn Rhoden as an Olympia champion and Phil Heath as an Olympia champion. You're not giving anybody else a shot if Phil's in 100%.
Right.
So
just like when Ronnie was on his game,
correct.
It was just game over for everybody else.
Over. Yeah, but you didn't even give any. Like I say, right? You open that door when Rhoden's champ because you go, well, he's not that dominant. He's missing this. And he's got a little weak there, and that's why everybody considered this title to be wide open when he was defending the title. If Phil Heath goes in, it's over. And like I say, that's with a 10% increase. He'd have to be better in the midsection. That's what lost him the show. Yeah. So that's a given. But it ain't a whole lot. It's 10%. And if he can do that and he decides to go in, he's looking at number 8.
Honestly, I wouldn't have had a problem with him winning again last year. I didn't think his stomach looked that. Yeah, obviously when people take pictures and they catch him at those odd moments when he's letting it relax. But I've seen other Mr. Olympias hold on to their title with way worse.
Oh yeah, torn biceps and other things, missing stuff. I would, like you, I agree. I would have had no problem with Phil winning last year. The problem Phil had last year is that was the second year he came in with the midsection that wasn't as good as it could be, and a little loose in shots and poses. And Rhoden just happened to hit it dead on the money. And listen, Rhoden looked tremendous. Now, do I still think he was a better bodybuilder? Not really. I mean, to me, he's still missing too many things. He's got great abs and thighs. Yeah. Like Milos used to have, great. I mean, I've been in that respect. But he's missing everything else to me. His arms are too small. His chest is too small. His back is okay.
Great shoulders.
But it's not.
Great legs. Tiny waist.
But that doesn't make him Mr. Olympia to me. If you go part for part, there's more complete guys, and that's why I didn't give him a much of a chance of repeating. But obviously, that's a moot point at this point. So
I'm not going to dwell on this too much because the story's already sort of going away in light of larger issues pressing. But we just talked about William Bonac, one of the front runners for the Olympia. He's been third place. Was he second one year? No, third. Third was the highest.
Third place. Yep.
So he's still a front runner, especially in light of the lineup this year. He very publicly split from his coach Neil Hill a few weeks ago.
Saw that.
He made a very, can I say whiny? He made a very whiny video.
That's fair.
On Instagram, saying Neil Hill was taking all my money. He was taking this percentage of all my winnings, and look at my. He actually gave a tour of his own place, called it a shithole. Which
I saw that.
Why would you do that? First of all, I mean, if I lived in a terrible place, I wouldn't want everyone to see it. But he really threw Neil under the bus. And Neil made his own response, and I don't know how closely you followed that whole exchange between them. Did you?
I did. Few things. One, I agree. His place is a shithole. Okay, that's number one.
Need to pick it up.
Two, I didn't know Neil was a cleaning lady in his spare time. Listen, it's a shithole because you got shit all over the place. Clean the damn thing up. I mean, listen, I understand it ain't the Taj Mahal, bro, but come on. I mean, that's not. How you live your lifestyle's up to you. That said, all jokes aside, because I like both gentlemen very much. I've always liked William for his candor and his willingness to put stuff out there. However, this is family business, man. I mean, why would either one of you, especially William, why would you put this out there? I mean, this should have been handled privately between you and him. Don't put this crap out there. I mean, I don't know what it was supposed to gain. What was the end result from this? You know what I mean? Like, his math skills clearly need work because he's claiming that Neil's taking 40%. He's not taking 40%. He was taking 20%. Yeah. And then he was taking 20% of his bonuses, whatever. Listen, you don't add them together and he's taking 40%, brah. Okay? He's just taking 20%, which is fairly standard in the industry. 15 to 20%, whether you're in the Hollywood circles or this, is about right.
Well, correct me, because I didn't follow it closely enough because I'm lazy. But
okay.
He was talking about 20% of his contract his contracts
Correct.
he was getting, which did not. Am I correct? Did Neil negotiate and secure all those contracts for him in the first place?
I don't know, but let's go on this, Ron. Okay, so let's just say Neil's getting 20% of his contest winnings.
Yeah.
Okay, 20% of his guest posing appearances.
Okay.
And 20% of his contractual deals that he puts to, he's represented by this company or that company or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, now, all right, you don't get to add those together and go, wow, this guy's taking 60% from me. All right, no, he's taking 20%. He's taking 20% of this, of this, of this, of that. It's still 20%, William, okay? Now, that's up to you guys as to what you negotiate. Now, is that crazy? No. I've heard of that from many people. I mean, the idea is that without this guy, you wouldn't have these things afforded to you. Okay, so is that worth 20%? Yeah, I think that's okay. I mean, I don't have any issue with that. Apparently, you didn't have any issue with that for a while. All right. Now, at some point, it became an issue. Now, from what I hear, and again, I'll just paraphrase this because I don't have exact knowledge of this, but from what I hear, they had negotiated it down to 10%. Okay. Okay. Now the problem became, which is again, okay, that's cool. Maybe you've gone beyond that point where you think, okay, well, listen, I've made a lot of money off this guy, and equally, you've done a lot of work to get him there, and you feel maybe 10%'s, a little bit more in line with current and all that. Okay, and then the problem was, I guess, from William's standpoint, is he didn't feel like he was getting the same service because now they had reduced it to 10%. So now he's getting treated like a redheaded stepchild in terms of he's sending him pictures, he's not getting back, and now the pictures ain't good enough. And well, if you send him shitty pictures in your shitty apartment, chances are he can't really do a whole lot with that. But I knowing Neil as I do, I find it hard to believe that he would have given you any less service, even if that. But that's a negotiation, okay? That's a business transaction, and it should be between the two parties, not the internet, not the court of public opinion, okay? Take care of your business, but, leave that stuff out, man. Like I say, that doesn't help you. It doesn't make William look good. It doesn't make Neil look good. It doesn't make the sport of bodybuilding look good. So, listen, push come to shove at this point, well, now we'll see how much that was worth it or not worth it. If Williams shows up and he wins the whole thing, well, then you know what? Pretty smart move, man. You saved yourself a whole bunch of money, and clearly you've got the knowledge to bring yourself in, or maybe you get a different trainer. Now, if he comes in and he ends up taking 7th, I don't know. Neil's stock just went up a whole bunch, so we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
He's had a coach. He's had Neil by his side for the past, I want to say 6-7 years. Pretty much all his success as a pro has been with Neil. So we'll see what happens.
Well, like I said, it's up to his the ball's in his court. You know what I mean? I wish William the best. He's a great athlete. Now let's just talk Olympia, okay?
Yeah.
Is this guy a threat to the title? Absolutely. What he can't do is put on more muscle. He's tapped out. Okay, his frame, his structure. What hurt him last year a little bit is that he's a little bit boxy when he goes bigger. That usually happens when you're 5'5", 6". You know, maybe
I'm glad
someone
you didn't say 5'0" nothing, Bob.
No offense, right? But you know what? Listen, he's got as much muscle as his frame can handle. The only way to go up from there at that level is in the middle. Okay, so you're going to start squaring off. You know, like Kai in his last couple years. You know, I mean, he's getting a little more square. It's like, well, the more muscle you put on, it's got to go somewhere. It's not all relative where it just goes to your lats and your thighs. I mean, you know, we should all be so lucky.
That would be nice.
Well, and we're battling age. Listen, as we get older, I mean, you and I both know there's a distinct difference between a Masters competitor and a regular competitor in their 20s or 30s, you know. And you and I have both been there in our 20s and 30s, and now we're not. So, listen, it gets a little harder. Waist gets a little wider. You know, legs go down a little trimmer. You know, we've all seen the changes of even with top pros over the years. So, can William put it all together and win it? I wouldn't count him out. I give him probably an equal opportunity past Dexter and Brandon Curry.
I mean,
and Rulli. Let me put Rulli in there.
He's beaten all those guys at one point or another over the past few years.
Exactly right, and that's why you'd be a fool to count out William Bonac, because there's a reason they call him the Conqueror. All right.
So the last thing I did want to touch on was the Jeremy Buendia situation, because he's got these ex-girlfriends coming out, being interviewed and doing their own videos, and you know he's got a pattern, it seems, of being abusive, being irrational, and I'm just wondering why are these women not pressing charges? Why are they going to these people with YouTube channels and doing interviews and making posts about it instead of, you know, if I'm a woman I can only imagine, you know, I think it's terrible. I would never hit a woman. I think it's a horrible, a very cowardly thing for any man to beat a woman. But why are these women not pressing charges and trying to get this guy put away?
Well, call it battered woman syndrome, call it pure stupidity. I mean, there's a lot of adjectives I can put into this, but it's here nor there. Listen, if you're a girlfriend of Jeremy Buendia's and he has done these things and you continue to stay with him, all right, you got a problem, okay? Have a little more self-worth and respect from that and leave. But don't go back and then bitch again when he does it again. I worked in the law system and stuff for a while as a deputy sheriff. I saw this stuff in courts. And again, this is years ago, but you know what? Something's never changed, Ron. I watched women come in there, and every time they'd refuse to press charges, and then the next time they, you know, it always started off the same. It's, you know, it's a bruise or it's a black eye, and then you see him again 3-4 months later, and this time it's a broken nose, and then the next time you see him, it's an arm in a sling, and every time, well, but I love him, and well, you know,
he's really sorry.
Oh yeah, but you know what? But here's the problem, Ron. Is every time they would decline the press, because you couldn't force them to press charges. Again, now times have changed over the years where they actually can press charges basically on your behalf, all right? Back then it wasn't like that. If you refused, it was just done. So here's the problem. Now something really happens. She gets stabbed, she gets the crap beat out of her, you know, with an inch of her. Now she wants to press charges. Well, guess what? It's a first-time offense now. We have no history. There is no paper trail because you declined to press charges all these times. So now it's brand new. You have to treat it, from the law, you have to treat it as brand new. Well, we don't have any. This is the first time offense. What's going to happen? Nothing. You know, you're going to get a slap on the wrist or something. You know, now times have changed a little bit, but back to Jeremy. Jeremy's got some issues, okay? And I say that without smirking, you know what I mean? Like he has some real issues that he needs to attend to. Yeah. He's got some anger issues, he's got some problems, okay? I think he's well aware of it. I just don't think he knows how to handle it, or he hasn't gone about it the right way. You know, maybe he needs some real help, you know what I mean? But listen, this kid's tasted some pretty good success, okay? I just saw him this past weekend at the LA, and he pulled up in his white Lamborghini, okay?
Wow, okay.
Which was pretty freaking impressive. I mean, this thing was sweet, bro. I mean, I don't know how much he got it for, but it's a $300,000 car, for all I know.
Yeah.
Okay? So he's tasted some success. He's been a world champ for what, 3-4 years, whatever he won it.
Four titles, yeah.
4 titles, right? He's clearly been able to convert it and make it a decent living, however he makes it, with other things, online, whatever. He's also got a very bad side to him, that he has a temper problem. He has an impulse control problem. And what happened at the show this weekend is he had somebody that was in the show, whether he trains him or is friends with him or whatever. Yeah. Guy didn't get the placing he thought he should have got. Now, I don't know where he ended up placing. Second, third, fourth. Clearly, he didn't win. When he didn't win, he went ballistic. Shouted some stuff out, this and that. Now, I didn't hear him, so whatever he shouted out, I didn't even catch it because I was at the podium, calling it. But apparently, he left the auditorium area, went out to the bathroom area in the lobby, started beating up the bathroom for whatever reason. I don't know what the stall, had to do with any of this, but. And Kim Odo, okay, who everybody knows, loves, and respects, happened to either be in the bathroom or walked into the bathroom when this was going on. Kim tells him, bro, take it easy. Like, what are you doing? Kind of. Jeremy goes ballistic on Kim Odo.
Wow.
Start to challenge him to a fight. This now. Who the hell fights Kim Odo?
Did he? I saw.
Seriously.
Did he threaten to? Did he threaten to fight the head judge, who's 68 years old?
Listen, he was threatening, from what I hear, anybody that was. First of all, the head judge was Tamer or Tarek Elgindi, so clearly that's exaggerated. But listen, anybody that was within earshot, he was threatening. Okay, like I say, first of all, who the hell threatens Kim Odo of all people? Nicest guy I know in the world. Who fights Kim Odo?
Seems like a very nice guy to me. I don't know.
Yeah, and Kim is just trying to diffuse. He's going, bro, just take it easy, man. I mean, what's the deal? Kim. But Kim didn't back down from him either. He stood there and said, look, this ain't cool, man. Just, think about what you're doing here. And then it spilled out into the thing, and, eventually Tamer had to have him, basically thrown out. And then he still continued outside and stuff. So that's what I know. Now, that said, for those who keep bringing Jeremy's name up into this and trying to line it up with the Shawn Rhoden type thing, all right? First of all, Jeremy Buendia is not the current champ, okay? Yeah. Jeremy Buendia is also retired from competing. Okay, Jeremy Buendia, for all I know right now, isn't even a pro league pro. He may not have even renewed his membership, as most pros don't when they stop competing,
right?
Because there's no real advantage to doing it. You know what I mean? If you're not going to compete, listen, everybody still knows you're a pro and all that stuff. But is he an active pro league participant? I don't know.
I don't think so.
But we have no jurisdiction, okay, over his personal matters. Okay, so for those trying to liken this to the road, well, why isn't he suspended? It's like, well, I don't even know if he's in to get suspended. Now, I can tell you this, he's suspended out of any of Tamer shows, at least for some portion. I think he's going to give him a little time out. That, look, he's not really welcome back right now.
Right.
Maybe that can change down the road, but right now, he doesn't want him back at any of his shows. Now, can the Pro League adopt a stance and say, look, he's no longer welcome at any Pro League show? They could. I don't know if this merits that, or, first of all, I don't even know if he's going to come around. If I was him, I'd kind of keep a low profile right now, because this didn't really help his cause. He's had outbursts before. He's had other issues and problems at shows that I've seen and actually been a part of. He needs to get his shit together.
Yeah.
Personally,
I'm never going to blame the victim. I would never do that. But any future women that become involved with him, if they've just Googled his name, like I think everybody does these days,
right?
All you got to do is Google it. You're going to come up with all this past history of abuse and emotional trauma. So they should have an idea what they're in for. I don't, unless he goes to some extensive anger management treatment program and comes out a changed man. Who knows? People change. People can change.
I don't know if that ship has sailed, but I don't even know if he has done that. I tell you this, as somebody who, if I was a friend of his in that manner, I'm cordial with him, and I know Jeremy, but I'm not. We don't break bread. I would tell him quite frankly, bro, you need to get some help. Like, for real. Like, all bullshit aside. Listen, like I said, you've got money, you've got some fame you hit, you've got the world at your disposal. It's in your hand.
Right.
And you can't get out of your own way. I don't care what his guy did. If he took second, third, fourth, if you think he got completely screwed, okay, as if for some odd reason they didn't like this guy.
Yeah.
That doesn't warrant that. Conduct yourself. Like, listen, you're supposed to be not only a professional, but a champion. You know what I mean? Conduct yourself as such. You made a complete fool of yourself out there, ranting and raving and beating up the bathroom, and you're threatening Kim Odo. I still can't get over that, bro. Of all people, he's probably the nicest guy I know. Well,
let's end this on a nice positive note. Let's just hype up next weekend in Tampa. You're going to be there, right?
I will be there with bells. Well, not bells on it. I hate that expression. I actually won't be wearing bells.
You'll be there with a shiny tie. That's what you'll
unless those pants come back, Ron, as I finally remember them when I was a little kid. But shiny tie, yes, absolutely in check and all that. Tampa Pro is coming up, man, this week. Next week. Yep. USA's this week.
That's right.
USA, so I'm heading back out to Vegas tomorrow.
Oh, boy.
Once again, the USA Championships, the most prestigious amateur show in the world, bro. Okay. Because there's something special about not being a USA champion, but about being Mr. USA.
Well, you say that because you were Mr. USA. But
you're exactly right. But
I mean, the Nationals is a good show too.
Yes, listen, takes a second seat, bro. Nationals, North Americans, World, whatever. Listen, USA, the most prestigious show. Some pretty good stuff coming from Tamer and Tarek El Guindy out there. You're going to see some changes at the USA this year with the setup and the ambiance of the place and all that. He's bumping it up about 5-6 notches. So it's going to be very impressive. They're doing a great job out there, by the way. My buddy Tamer, running California and muscle contest worldwide. They're actually the biggest promoters worldwide now.
Wow.
So it's pretty impressive. In addition to everything else that he does, working for the UFC and everything else. So USA this week, and then Tampa Pro week after that. Tim Gardner, of course, and his crew down there. This is always a great show. Tim at this point is only breaking his own records for most pros. So there's be 250 pros there.
Last year, I believe it topped 300 pros.
You know what? I don't even remember. I lost count.
It was I know he set the record for most pros in a show last year at that show.
But, and it'll probably beat that record again because it's a great show, and Tim does a phenomenal job. I mean, he caters to the athletes way over and above what any other promoter does. He cares that much. I mean, Tim loves the sport of bodybuilding, and he gives back. It'll be a great show. Dexter headlining this one, obviously.
Luke Sando's supposed to be in it.
Well, Luke kind of made a tactical error, in my opinion, okay? Yeah. Luke's been in the point standings, obviously, since the beginning of the year, okay?
Yeah.
But I put on, along with my partner Ian, our Two Bros Pros production, put on the British Grand Prix, all right, less than a month ago, in his backyard. Yeah. Which Nathan Diasha went in, James Hollingshead, Samson Daouda. So, even Zach Khan came back.
Yeah.
All right? King Khan himself came back, and then so all the British guys, because they wanted the battle for, it was the battle for Britain.
Right.
Well, Luke decided not to go in it. Now, which I thought was stupid for a couple of things. One, it's in your backyard. Two, get some bragging rights here. Take on Nathan Diaz head on, and let's go. Let's have some fun. Three, listen, don't rest on your points, bro, because you're not in. Okay, you can get out of there, and let me tell you, he's getting real lucky right now. But he's got a little bit of nervousness going on because guess what? All of a sudden, it's not a sure thing. He's got to hit Tampa now. All right, which is also not a sure thing, to kind of ensure. Now, if he gets any amount of points, he'll ensure his trip to the Olympia. If he comes up snake eyes, it's in doubt. I mean, he could very well get bounced out mathematically. Yeah. He got lucky this last week because a couple of the guys, Milan Shadik, okay, from the Czech Republic, he didn't cash in this last show.
Right.
And he's right on his heels in the points. If he'd cash in the top 5, this would have been real close. But Samson Daoud is coming up. I mean, he's done pretty well in the last couple of shows. So there's like a 3-way tie for second, I think, like in the Olympia standing. So and Dexter's in it. So listen, barring he ain't going to beat Dexter, and if I was a betting man, I'd say he's not. Okay, at best you're looking at second. Now that's assuming he shows up in shape. So a little bit of tactical error there, in my opinion. If I was Luke Sandow, I would have gone in the British Pro, the British Grand Prix in his backyard, got myself a few points, and then I could have skated into the Olympia. So hopefully this works out for him. I love Luke. He's a great new bodybuilder on the scene. He's got a phenomenal physique, and he's going to upset some people, assuming he does well in this show, which he will.
Yeah.
In Tampa. Listen, he'll give Dexter a run. I don't think he can beat Dexter, but that's why they play the game. But he's there. I mean, this guy can take a few people out of that top 10, guaranteed this year.
I mean, we're even hearing Rami might show up, but I'll believe that when I see it.
Well, yeah, I'm with you because I've heard he's in, he's out, he's back in, he's back out, he's injured, he's not injured. I never said I was injured. So I'll believe that when I get to the athletes meeting and I see Big Rami waltz in. I'll tell you this: if there's a guy who stands to go in this year, it's Big Rami. I mean, listen, this guy, if he hit it 95%, you could be looking at your new Mr. Olympia. I mean, listen.
He needs to beat Dexter if he does Tampa. He's going to have to beat Dexter to qualify for the Olympia, though.
He's beaten all those guys.
Yeah, true.
You know. Now, again, I don't know what his status is. I don't know if he's in or out, or if he'd have to requalify. I haven't even looked to see if that's the case. But yeah, I mean, you got to get past the rule. Listen, you got some damn good bodybuilders up there, but talk about missing the opportunity. It's like, man, this was kind of your year, man. It's like
seriously.
Get your stuff together, brother. Come on.
All right. Well, Bob Cicherillo, the voice of bodybuilding, Mr. USA, athletes representative. I could go on and on and on. He has a lot of cool suits. I got to also add that in. MC's the Olympia. I look very much forward to seeing you again in Tampa. But everyone who's heading out to Vegas for the USA this weekend, you'll get to see Bob doing his thing as the MC of that show. Does a phenomenal job. Keeps the shows moving.
Thank you, brother.
Has little quips, little funny remarks here and there too. I always appreciate those.
I'm glad you get them because they don't always go to everybody. But at least if I see you laughing in the front row, I know I got to somebody. So.
I give you a thumbs up when you score. When you'll see me sometimes shake my head like, nah, not if I do. But most of them, they do land. So thank you so much for your time, your insights. You're never afraid to state your opinion. I love when people say, Bob's just a mouthpiece for the IP. You're like, Bob says whatever Bob wants to say. Don't get it twisted.
That's right.
People.
That's right. And as always, Ron, I leave you with this. I may not always be right, but I'm never wrong.
Good. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching Ronline Report with Bob Cicherillo. We'll see you next time.